Jehovah, though he knew he had done nothing to deserve such treatment. Job was pretty indignant, but he didn't go so far as to hate God. Neither did any of the biblical writers. They blamed themselves, or rather Israel as a whole, for their troubles: military defeats, exiles, pestilences, famines, etc. The Deuteronomic theology, so called because we find it set forth in the book of Deuteronomy, held that God had made a covenant agreement with Israel. Henceforth, he should be their God and they should be his people. As long as they worshipped Jehovah, Yahweh, alone, forswearing other deities and all idols, God would watch over them, protecting them from their enemies, from disease, from famine, etc. But if his people transgressed the terms of the deal, they could not expect their divine patron to hold up his end of the bargain. The way the Old Testament writers told it, the numerous catastrophes that overtook Judah, were the result of Israel's faithlessness. This self-abnegating conclusion was entirely deductive. The Bible writers thought the same way Job's blame-laying companions did. If misfortune strikes you down, you must have deserved it. The Deuteronomic historians, authors of Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings, often fabricated sins to justify the disasters. Why? Because the alternative would be even worse, admitting that there was no covenant and no God, at least no justice. This would mean man is alone in an indifferent universe with no protection and no reason to hope that the right and the righteous will prevail. I would have to call this belief superstitious for the simple reason that the supposed cause behind misfortunes is an after-the-fact rationalization based on ad hoc unseen factors rather than observation. Causation that is posited to rescue religious belief seems to me little different from positing inexplicable connections between a sauntering feline and bad luck. And just so as not to discriminate, I would say the same thing about the Hindu, Buddhist, Jainist belief in karma, where a good reason for any tragedy or affliction may be dreamed up in order to protect the belief in cosmic justice. Master, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? John chapter 9, verse 2. Another major feature of Orthodox traditional Christianity as superstition concerns biblical literalism, the stubborn insistence that all the narrated miracles really happened in the same history we live in, that the world was created inside of a week, that dinosaurs and humans lived side by side, that there is a personal devil, etc. These beliefs were not always superstitions. No one knew any better in biblical times, but since the advent of science and historical methodology, believing these things is a very different proposition. As Paul Tillich explains it, it is a question of natural, or naive, versus reactive or reactionary literalism. Fundamentalists in the modern world know they are defying and opposing a consensus. Their ancestors were part of the pre-scientific consensus. But today's literalists know they are swimming against the stream, and they will resort to contrived pseudoscience to try to salve their intellectual conscience, even though their efforts at apologetics are only more embarrassing. I used to do this sort of thing with my daughters when they were little. I would try to explain how Santa Claus made it down all the chimneys in a single night, but I knew I was telling white lies. I don't think biblical inerrantists, scientific creationists, etc., are consciously lying. They should know better, but they don't. They won't let themselves know better. Their literalism, as a mental operation, is the same as believing in superstitions. Those who live in an unbroken mythological world feel safe and certain. They resist, often fanatically, any attempt to introduce an element of uncertainty by breaking the myth, namely, by making conscious its symbolic character. Such resistance is supported by authoritarian systems, religious or political, in order to give security to the people under their control and unchallenged power to those who exercise the control. But we don't want to miss the trees for the forest.